Hi everyone, you're welcome back to my channel. My name is Nancy, and if you are new to my channel, kindly subscribe, share and like my videos, and also put on your notification bell to be notified when I upload new tutorials. So in today's class, I'll be showing you how to make these beautiful Ankara patches skirts. So let's get started. These are the essential measurements: the waist circumference, the hip circumference, the waistline to the half length of the skirt, the waistline to the full length of the skirt. So the waistline to the half length of the skirt is 19 inches, which is the pencil part of the skirt. From that 19 inches, I added extra 10 inches ruffles, which made it 29 inches altogether. To know the size or amount of patches you need for this skirt, first of all, you need to know how many patches you want on the front piece of the skirt. I want 5 patches to be on the front piece of the skirt. Obviously, from the illustration, you could see that the front piece of the skirt is divided into 5. This simply means I'll be having 5 different Ankara prints on the front piece. Alright, so let's go ahead to do some simple calculations. The hip is the widest part of the measurement, which is 46 inches. You have to divide it by 2, and that is 23 inches. This simply means that the front piece of the skirt is 23 inches wide on the hip part, and the back piece of the skirt is also 23 inches wide on the hip part. This simply means if you add 23 inches to 23 inches, that will be 46 inches. That's giving you back the overall hip circumference. Now, to achieve just the patches for the front piece, we'll be working with 23 inches, since that is just for the front piece. Now, the number of patches I need is 5 inches. I divided 23 inches by 5, which gave me 4.6 inches. Since we have a decimal number, which is 4.6 inches, I will advise you to approximate it to a whole number, and that will be 5 inches. This simply means that the wideness of the patches we need is 5 inches. But if after dividing you have a whole number, you can add about 0.5 inches to that, so that it will give you some little allowances. And by the time you attach all pieces together, you'll find out that you don't even need to add any hip sewing allowance or waist sewing allowance to it. But when we get to that stage, you understand me better. So what I have is 5 inches now. That 5 inches, I am going to be adding 1 inch sewing allowance, and that sewing allowance is just to attach all pieces together. To make this clearer, this is one of the patches. If I secure one side and the other side by ½ inch, that will be 1 inch altogether. So that was why I added 1 inch now, making it 6 inches altogether. This simply means that the wideness of the patches we'll be working with is 6 inches. From the waistline to the half length of the skirt is 19 inches, but looking at the illustration, you'll see that there is a waistband of 2 inches. So this simply means we have to subtract this waistband from the half length of the skirt, and I'll be showing you how this is done on the template. Now I placed my tape vertically on the template to subtract the waistband. The waistband is 2 inches, but I subtracted 1.5 inches because by the time you sew the waistline of the skirt, it becomes 2 inches. So that's the reason why I subtracted 1.5 inches. Now the half length of the skirt is 19 inches, but I don't want to mark directly on the 19 inches, so I'll be adding about 3 inches sewing allowance to the hem of the skirt. And the reason I added 3 inches sewing allowance to that is because this is a patchwork, and there might be a lot of trimmings to make the sides equal or the top or bottom of the patchwork equal. So it's better for it to be longer than for the skirt to be shorter. So after sewing the pencil part of the skirt, you can trim it to whatever length you want. For the wideness of the patch, we calculated it to be 6 inches, so I'll just be marking 6 inches all through. To connect all the dotted points together, the next step is to cut out the template. Now you can place this on your different African prints to cut out 5 pieces. So for the front piece, these are the 5 pieces I'll be working with. The next step is to attach them together by sewing the sides ½ inch. Right, I've attached them together. And just to be sure that we're on the safer side, remember that the wideness of the hip is 23 inches for the front piece. So let's see what we have here. After attaching the pieces together, we have 27 inches wide instead of 23 inches. So the difference is 4 inches. Since we have extra 4 inches, the 4 inches will serve as a sewing allowance on the side of the hip circumference. Now we've gotten the patches for the front piece. To get the back piece, all you have to do is to place the templates on the printed Ankara fabric to cut out 6 pieces. And the reason I'm working with 6 pieces is because the front piece is 5 pieces, and for us to get a zipper allowance, we need to add extra 1 piece to that, which made it 6 pieces altogether. So this is my 6 pieces. I want the zipper to be in the center seam of the back piece. To achieve this, you just place this piece on the other piece to secure the edge by ½ inch. Then you place this one on this other piece to secure the edge by ½ inch. And that will be 3 pieces in one side. Now you don't have to attach this to the other 3 pieces because of the zipper in the center seam of the back piece. The next step is to join these 3 patches together by ½ inch. Alright, so this is how to get the patches for the back piece. The next step is to shape the skirt. This is the front piece of the skirt, so you fold this into 2 as shown. The first step is to place the tape vertically. Now you have to subtract 1.5 inches from the waistline. So by the time you attach the waistline to the band, it becomes 2 inches. So this is the starting line of the skirt, which is also the waistline of the skirt. The next step is to mark the waistline to the hip line, which is 9 inches. This 9 inch is not a standard measurement, so make sure you take the client's measurements accurately. Alright, the next line should be the half length of the skirt. The half length of the skirt is 19 inches, but because I said there might be some little trimmings, I don't want it to be shorter than 19 inches, so it's best to leave it the way it is. The next step is to place the tape horizontally on the waist circumference to mark the waist circumference divided by 4 plus 2 inches sewing allowance. Please take note that I didn't add any dart allowance to the waist circumference measurements because the joining on the patches has already served as the darts. Alright, on the hip line, I place the hip circumference divided by 4 plus 2 inches sewing allowance to the side. To get the hem circumference, you need to place the tape on the hip circumference. With the sewing allowance included, this is 13 inches. I subtracted 1 inch from that, which made it 12 inches, and then I placed it on the hem line. The reason I'm using this measurement for the hem line is because I don't want the skirt to be too penciled, since there won't be a slit on the skirt, and in order for you to work properly, this is the best method in calculating the hem circumference. The next step is to place the front piece on one side of the back piece as shown. For the placement, make sure that the seam on the front piece aligns with the seam on the back piece as shown. Obviously, you can see that we have extra sewing allowance on this other side of the fabric that has more of the blue Ankara prints. The next step is to mark the zipper allowance. On the waistline, I'll mark 1.5 inches. On the hip line, I'll mark 2 inches. And on the hem line, I'll mark 1.5 inches to connect the 3 points together. Now I went ahead to trim out the zipper allowance. Obviously, the back piece is a bit longer than the front piece, so I went ahead to trim out the length and to also trim out the shape on the side of the skirt as shown. The next step is to place out the other side of the back piece on this piece, right side to right side, to trim out the shape, making sure that the straight seams align properly. Now that we have both the front piece and the back piece, the next step is to place this on your lining to cut out the same shape. And you should also place the Ankara patches on your paper stay to cut out the same shape, and also place the lining on the paper stay to cut out the same shape. So the reason why I'm using paper stay is because I want the skirt to have more fitting. Alright, so I've gummed the paper stay on the wrong side of the Ankara piece, and I also gummed the paper stay on the lining. Now I place the right side of the lining on the right side of the Ankara. So take this to the sewing machine to secure the sides by ½ inch or ¼ inch. On the back piece, I also use the paper stay on the wrong side of the fabric. Now I'll place my lining, which is the right side of the lining, on the right side of the fabric to secure the sides by ¼ inch, and also repeat the same sewing process for the other side of the back piece. So I've secured all sides together. The next step is to turn this to the right side of the fabric. The next step is to fold the front piece into two equally. On the center fold of the skirt, I'll mark 1 inch to connect it to the edge of the waistline as shown. Now I'll trim this out. The next step is to place the front piece on the back piece to mark the zipper allowance. So the zipper allowance is whatever extra fabric that is left on this side. Now I'll use a chalk to mark the zipper allowance as shown. The next step is to place the right side of both the back piece on each other. So I'll take this to my sewing machine to secure the zipper allowance. But before doing that, you need to mark the zipper allowance opening first. I want the zipper allowance to be open to about 7 inches. So on these 7 inches I marked, I'm going to stitch it straight down to the hem, since there isn't a slit on the skirt. After stitching the zipper allowance, this is how the back piece should be. The next step is to bring the front piece on the table to mark the waist circumference, hip circumference, and hem circumference. And after marking the shape on the front piece, you need to place the right side of the back piece on the front piece. Then you take this to the sewing machine to follow or to sew directly on the chalk. After securing the side, you should turn this to the right side of the fabric. To get the waistband on the skirt, you need to place the tape starting from the zipper allowance to take the waist circumference. So altogether I have 48 inches as the waist circumference. This simply means that the length of the waistband should be about 48 inches, but because of you need some little sewing allowance for folding, you can add about 1 inch to that. That'll be 49 inches. Now I'll be showing you how I got the measurements of my patches. For each of the patches, I use 6 inches as the wideness and 5 inches as the length. After joining the patches together to about 49 inches long, I folded the patches into two and I placed a gum stay on half side of the waistband as shown, and also went ahead to fold the edges of the side of the band with the paper stay. Now the next step is on how to attach the waistband to the waist circumference of the skirt. To attach this, you place this other side of the waistband without the paper stay on the wrong side of the waist circumference to stitch it by ½ inch all through. For this skirt, I'll be inserting an elastic into it because this skirt was ordered and the measurement given to me wasn't taken by me. So I need to be very careful about this, and an elastic will help you a lot in this same situation I am. Alright, so I don't want the elastic to end at the side seam of the skirt, because if I allow it to get to that point, it simply means that the entire waistband of the back piece we have an elastic into it, but that is not what I want. I just want it to have an elastic from the zipper allowance down to this other line before the side seam line. So I'm just going to stitch this side horizontally to get to about 1.5 inches. Now I'll go ahead to insert the elastic band into it as shown. The next step is to raise the machine footer to stitch directly on the elastic vertically. Now I'll keep taking the stitches horizontally so I get to a line before the side seam line. So this is the line before the side seam line. I'm just going to raise the machine footer up to stitch directly on the elastic, but before doing that you need to pull the elastic a bit until it gives you this squeezed effect. Now you should pull the elastic to cut out the excess elastic band. Now you keep sewing till you get to a line before the side seam of the other hip side. When I got to this other line, I inserted the elastic into this. I went ahead to raise the machine footer to stitch the elastic. One and a half inches before the zip allowance, I raised the machine footer up to pull the elastic and then to secure directly on the elastic. The next step is to attach the zipper to the zip allowance opening. So this is the right time to cut out the half length of the skirt. I placed my tape vertically from the waistline down to the half length. The half length of the skirt is 19 inches. So I'm just going to add 1 inch sewing allowance to that to make it 20 inches. And I'll trim this out. In this case, both the front piece and the back piece will be equal. And that was the reason why I added 3 inches to the length of the skirt from the onset. Because I know that after doing some trimmings, we might not get the exact measurements anymore if it was shorter. And the reason why we had a lot of trimming was because we did a patchwork compared to when you are just working with a single or a particular fabric or just one particular fabric. To add the ruffles, first of all, you need to take the measurements of the hem circumference. The measurements of the hem circumference for the front piece is 22 inches, which simply means that for the back piece is also 22 inches. So 22 inches plus 22 inches is 44 inches. So the overall round hem circumference is 44 inches. So let's take note of that. To get the size of the patches you need to subtract the half length of the skirt. The half length of the skirt is 19 inches. I placed the tape vertically from the starting line on 19 inches, and the full length of the skirt is 29 inches, which I marked 29 inches already. But because of the sewing allowance to which it will be attached to the bottom of the skirt, and also to secure the hem of the ruffles, I added 2 inches extra, which made it 31 inches. Now for the wideness of the patches, I'll make this 6 inches. The next step is to cut out the template. So this is the template I'll be using to make the ruffles. So I'm just going to place this on different Ankara prints to cut out as many as possible. But to know the wideness you need, since we measured 44 inches as the wideness of the hem, you multiply it by 2 and that will be 88 inches. So this patches is 88 inches wide. The next step is to fold the patches into 2 equally. To secure both ends by ½ inch. After securing both ends by ½ inch, you should take this to your overlocking machine to weave all the seam allowances. After weaving all the seam allowances, you should place the skirt in between the ruffles as shown to pleat all through the hem circumference. Alright, this is the final outcome of the skirt. The last step is to secure the hem of the skirt by folding it in ½ inch and further folding it ½ inch all through. Alright, this is a must-have skirt because you can rock this skirt with any color of top. The beauty of this skirt doesn't end here because I'll be stoning the entire skirt without stoning the ruffles. I hope this tutorial was helpful, and if you are new to my channel, kindly subscribe, share and like my videos, and also put the notification bell to be notified when I upload new tutorials.